In this presentation, I'm going to talk about ethical and legal considerations in sport and exercise research. Firstly, I'm just going to touch on the background of ethical and legal considerations and why we have them to this present day. During World War II, the Nazis did experiments on prisoners, such as how long it took for them to pass out in freezing cold water. After the war had finished, it was noticed that these experiments are completely unethical. From this, the Nuremberg Code was created. This is basically a set of rules to tell us what is allowed and what's not allowed during research and experiments. Working ethically can be defined as moral principles that govern a person's behaviour. So this is basically what is right and wrong in society and socially, and there's no physical or emotional harm. And working legally is working within the boundaries of civil law. Obviously, if this is broke, then prosecutions could be set out, such as prison sentences. My first scenario is a gymnast coach asks a female student to take part in an experiment, see the effect of punishment on performance on the parallel bars. After the experiment, the coach is going to write about the results in an article. So the first point I had was institutional ethics and review committee and ethical clearance. Institutional ethics and review committee, their job is basically to approve, monitor and review research. One that's used in sport is BASES. The ethical clearance is given by BASES. This is where BASES look over and check the plan for the research and experiments, and they either give you ethical clearance, which basically means that you can go ahead with the research because your plan's solid, or they can give you some minor changes and then you can do it, or they say that you can't do it, full stop. There are some consequences if you don't go through a committee like BASES and you don't get clearance. So your accreditation could be taken away. So your basic accreditation could be taken away from you, and this could actually jeopardize your future work, because having an accreditation like this can make your work much more renowned and trusted, and also your research credibility could be taken away as well, because it won't be valued as much. And this could affect your career. So yeah, and also the participants won't feel as confident doing the test if they know that you haven't got ethical clearance and you haven't gone through a committee like that. So this could actually affect their results as well. The next point is informed consent. Before the study begins, the researcher must outline everything to the participants, what the research is about and what's going to happen, and then ask for their consent to take part. Participants should know everything before they start the research. If you fail to get this informed consent, then there could be some consequences, such as actually breaching the law. Participants could fine and even sue the researcher, and this could lead to them being suspended from work as well, which could cause financial issues, etc. And they could have their BASES accreditation taken away from them as well, which again could jeopardize their career. And it could possibly be considered as a scientific misconduct as well, because it's violating the standards regarding the human experiment. The next point is right to withdraw. Participants must know and have the right to withdraw from the experiment. Even at the end of the study, the participants has a final opportunity to withdraw their data, which they have provided for the research, and they should know all of this before the experiment starts. If you didn't let or tell the participants they can withdraw, then this could potentially cause emotional harm, and they could actually sue and fines could be given out. Also, their BASES accreditation could be taken away, as well as their professional credibility. The next point is respect and data protection. This is simply not being disrespectful to the participants. You shouldn't treat them like guinea pigs, and you should respect their wishes and work safely and sensibly. So if they don't want their results being posted in an article or social media, respect their wishes and don't do it. And also where it says punishment, work safely and make sure it's sensible and nothing too out there. Consequences of not doing this could be emotional harm. So participants may feel like they're being treated unfairly, and worst comes to worst, they could actually be sued as well. And the last one was deception. The researcher is, from our knowledge, is actually deceiving the participants. Where it says the effective punishment, we don't actually know what punishment means. So the participants must know before they start the research what exactly that means. And if they don't do this, then there could be consequences, such as their basis accreditation being taken away from them, which could affect their career, and also may need ethical training later on to teach them the effects of this and not to do it again. Going on to slide 2, the first point I have is data protection. The scenario is a gymnast coach asks volunteers to participate in an experiment to test muscular endurance. During the test, the coach leaves for 10 minutes to get some food. After the test, the results are published on the gymnastic club website. So the first point I had was data protection and confidentiality. Participants and the data gained from them must be kept anonymous unless they're given their full consent. If you fail to do this, then they could be breaching the law, and there could be prosecutions taking place and fines given out. It could also cause emotional harm. Participants may not want others to see the results, and could even end up with them getting bullied. So it could definitely have some emotional harm. The next point was informed consent. Before the study begins, the researcher must outline to the participants what the research is about, and then ask their consent, which is basically their permission to take part. Participants should know everything before they start the research. Again, consequences of not doing this could be breaching the law, fines could be given out, and suspension from work, etc. Next point is volunteers. The researcher asked volunteers to take part, and this was a good thing because it now means that their work is going to be much more valued and not biased. So if it was their friends, it could be a bit biased, or if they're forced into it. It also means that the participants are more likely to do it properly as well. The test of unlike if they're forced into doing it, then they might not take it seriously, might not want to do it. So this could affect the results. If you don't ask volunteers, it could lead to your research credibility being taken away from you, because people don't trust your work isn't unbiased. So if you do it once, then what's to say that you won't do it again? And then the last point is the second to last point, is health screening questionnaire. This is several tests to make sure that the participants are fit and healthy to take part in the experiment. Failing to do this, it could lead to physical harm to the participants if they're not healthy or fit to take part in that particular test. Then obviously it could cause them harm. And the last one is right to withdraw. Because the researcher leaves the room for 10 minutes to get some food, this takes away their right to withdraw, and this can cause emotional harm because they may feel they're being treated unfairly, and physical harm because obviously they can't stop if the researcher's out of the room. So if they need to stop, then they can't, so this could cause injury. Scenario 3, a gymnastic coach gets 10 volunteers who are all young female gymnasts who all had parental consent. The coach outlined what is going to happen during the test, but actually during the test the coach changed the plan and did something different. Sorry about that. That's meant to say during the test, not doing. The first point I had was volunteers. The coach got 10 participants who are all volunteers, and this is something that he did well, because by getting volunteers it means that the research won't be biased and it actually be valued much more. Also, if the participants aren't forced into doing it, then they are more likely to complete it better, as I said before, and in consequence of not doing this, the research credibility could be taken away from them. The next point was deception, This is basically where participants are lied to or wrongly informed about the aims of the research. In this example, it is commission deception, and this basically means that the researcher isn't telling them the full story and didn't tell them that it was actually going to change the experiment. Consequences of not doing this is their basis accreditation could be taken away from them, which could affect their career, as I said before, and also it may mean that they need ethical training as well later on to teach them the effects of this. Next point is parental consent. Parental consent is written or verbal consent which researchers must have if working with under 18s. Before the study begins, the researcher must outline to the participants and parents what the research is about, and then ask for their consent to let their children take part. In this example, the researcher did get parental consent, and this was a good thing because it makes his research much more valuable and not working against the law. If he hadn't got parental consent, then this would be working against the law, and the parents could sue. Also, if the parents and children don't know what's going to happen during the test, it could cause emotional harm to both of them because they don't know what they're getting themselves into, what's going to happen. So yeah, and the last point is scientific misconduct. This is basically where it compromises the integrity of scientific research. Because the research didn't tell the participants what they're actually going to be doing, this compromises the integrity of the research and their reputation, and this is deceiving the participants, which could affect them directly, as explained before, but can also affect their performance. So this might make the results untrustworthy or inaccurate. Consequences could be reputation lost and maybe basis accreditation taken away. The last scenario is a gymnastic coach asks a young female gymnast to take part in an experiment to see the effect of PNF flexibility training. The first point was right to withdraw. So again, as explained before, participants must know and have the right to withdraw from the experiment even at the end, and again consequences could be they could get sued, fines could be given out, basis accreditation taken away, etc. The next, as before in the last slide, parental consent. In this example, there's no evidence of this, and the researcher must get the parental consent, otherwise he'll be working against the law, and the parents could then sue. Also, if the parents and children don't know what's going on during the research, then this could cause emotional harm to the participants, especially seeing as PNF stretching is very personal and close. Then the next point is benefit analysis. This is basically weighing up the benefits against the risks. What's the value to society of doing the research, and is it worth it? A consequence of not doing this could be that your research credibility could be taken away, and this may make people not value your work in the future. And then we're on to respect and researcher responsibility. This is simply not being disrespectful to the participants. You shouldn't treat them like guinea pigs, and you should treat them with respect and respect their wishes, and also work safely and sensibly. Consequences of not doing this could be emotional harm, because participants may think that you're treating them unfairly, and worst comes to worst, they could also sue as well. And that is everything. Thank you for watching.